I was broken up with actually in a really, really traumatic way by my second boyfriend, no matter how bad it got, because I didn't want to have to find someone else, or stayed in the relationship and I was a secret for so long. And I've been like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. But now being a mum, having a baby, I was definitely, without them realising it, definitely a pawn in their chess piece. She's upstairs sleeping. I'm actually going to say it. I'm funny. I think I'm absolutely hilarious. Hello, Imogen. You are... Let's ignore all the flyaways on my hair. I'm doing this thing where I haven't washed my hair for actually now 11 days. This has been 11 days. So I've kind of tried to gel it back with my own grease, but I probably need some bits of these flyaways. We're just going to ignore it. You know, we're just going to ignore it. So hello. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're just joining me now, then hi, my name's Imogen. Really nice to meet you. I'm very excited for this video because, honey bees, I am turning 30 this year. 30, flirty with my husband and thriving. 13 going on 30, such a good film. But I basically just feel like I've learned a lot. Obviously, I've got loads more to learn. But I kind of just wanted to reflect on things that maybe I would have done differently when I was younger, things I would have told my younger self. I want to talk all about like insecurities, heartbreak. I literally have no idea where I'm going with this video, but I just want to do like a letter to my younger self, talking about the things that maybe I don't regret, because I don't feel like you can regret, there's no point in holding on to that, but maybe, yeah, I just would have done differently. And yeah, all about just life in general and growing up, and maybe it's good for younger people to watch or older people to watch, anyone that can relate to anything that I'm going to say. So let's kickstart it. I'm nearly 30 in March, on March the 14th, very exciting. And I feel like I've changed so much as a person, even from when I first started YouTube. And I love that. Change is good. Change is amazing. And I think we should always be developing and growing and evolving. But if you'd have gone back to like me when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, from like the age of like 13, more so 15, but let's just say 13, 14, 15, to the age of like 20, 23, 24, that was like a big block of my life that I don't black out or anything like that, but I made so many mistakes. I learned so many lessons. I had difficult times with parental breakups and my own breakups, and just I found, especially my early 20s, like 19 to sort of 23, I was just lost. I was really lost, very lost. Like I found my early 20s where everyone was like, you should be loving your life, like you're in your early 20s, like going out, loving life. And I just felt like I was filling a void. So I'll start from the very beginning. I've always been a very insecure person. My older brother was amazing at having his own independence, and like even from the get-go, like my parents said I never wanted to be on my own. I was I was an attached baby, I was an attached child, and I feel like that progressed into my later life. I can openly admit I was so insecure, like, and I look back now and think, what are you so insecure about? Like, what the hell? You are so fun, and you've got such an amazing character, and you're pretty, and like all these things. I look back at my younger self and I was just, don't get me wrong, I had some really nice, amazing times growing up, but I feel like I was very much always trying to fit the mold of what I was meant to fit. So I would always naturally fall into the sort of popular groups. You do realise the popular groups are really bitchy. You never, I mean, this is just for me. Please don't judge anything I'm saying, because this is genuinely just my own perspective. The popular groups I fell into, you were always pushed out one week, the next person was really popular, there was always one sort of ringleader, you'd go off in different groups, and it was just really cliquey and really bitchy. And because I was loud, and I'm funny, I'm actually going to say it, I'm funny, I think I'm absolutely hilarious. No, I do think I'm funny. And I would just sort of make the popular people like laugh, and they were like, oh, Imogen, all like, you know, and I was really chatty, so I think I naturally fell into that. But actually inside, I'm definitely like an introvert extrovert. So on the outside, I'm like, whoop, whoop, whoop. On the inside, I'm like, I'm gonna fail at all my GCSEs, you know, like that. But I was such an anxious person growing up. I've always been a worrier. My dad's different now, definitely calmed down since he's got older. Both my parents had really difficult childhoods, and I think that made me an anxious person. I'm not as anxious as my mum is, but I'm definitely an anxious person. And I look at my mum and I'm like, you are the most beautiful woman. If I look like you at your age, but you're beautiful inside and out, you are perfect in my eyes. And she's insecure and I look at her and think, no, if she could see herself through my eyes, she would literally never even bat an eyelid at ever feeling insecure, but it definitely stems from childhoods. And I think with my childhood, I grew up with, me and my dad have a different relationship now, completely. But I grew up, my dad and my mum have always been my #1 fans. They are literally like, they championed everything. They put everything into my life, our childhood, our extracurricular activities, family time, quality time, love. Everything they did was for us. Everything. Every single thing my parents did was for us. They are the most selfless people I've ever met. But growing up, my dad was way colder than he is now. Like, he shows his emotions way more. And I think that's because when my parents divorced, it did break them both. And I think that it made my dad then sort of hit the bottom to then sort of, I don't know, he's very emotional now, very emotional, but he would really hide that from me when I was younger. So I think I found it, I always looked for my dad's affection, but my mum always gave it to me. My dad would tell my mum, like, oh, I watched her in a dance competition today and she was flawless, the best dancer there, like, how parents do. And my mum would then relay that to me, and I think I constantly looked for my dad's approval. Hence the reason I probably, especially in my parents' divorce, my dad has spoken about this, like, we're very, very open, like, he's my bestest friend. I love that man. I am obsessed with my parents. I love them so much. I would give my life for my parents. But definitely during my parents' divorce, I became closer with my dad just because of other things that happened, which I probably won't disclose. As you can understand, there's things that you just want to keep private. But I definitely became closer to my dad. My mum moved out. And I was definitely, without them realising it, definitely a pawn in their chess piece, which I know that they desperately tried to not do, and my mum also kept out of that, but my dad didn't even realise he was doing it. And I look at my parents now and I think, I was such a judgmental child, probably, and a judgmental teenager and somewhat adult. Like, I've made comments about people doing things in the past. I've looked at things that my friends have done, and I've been like, oh my God, I can't believe she did that. But now, being a mum, having a baby, growing up, seeing life in a very different perspective, having all you guys, I genuinely feel like I've learned so much from just growing up and my eyes opening to how difficult life is for so many people. And yeah, I think when I was younger, I was definitely bubble wrapped and I was very naive. But during my parents' divorce, I guess, you can't judge or blame people because you don't know what it's like to go through such a horrendous divorce. It went on for like 5 years. It was so, it was really destructive and very toxic. And I guess from that I learned that your parents aren't bionic, they're not robots, they fuck up too. And I think that's where my whole world crumbled, because I'd literally put my parents on a pedestal and thought they were perfect, and everyone was like jealous of my parents. Like, they all wanted to come around my house. All my friends wanted to tell my parents things that they would never tell their parents. They always wanted to stay around ours, even though they had mansions and we had smaller houses than them. They just wanted to be at ours because they loved the family. They loved how close we all were. We all did really amazing quality time activities together. And that then led me to look for affection in maybe older men or controlling men, because I kind of wanted someone to be that daddy figure. Really messed up, but I definitely know I had daddy issues at one point, because my dad, obviously, when he met someone, my mum met someone too, I just never thought it would happen to me. My parents, we were all Catholic growing up. I just never ever thought that. I always looked to my parents and was like, they're soulmates, end of. So I think that the daddy issues definitely led into my relationships and 2 previous proper relationships. And I look back now and I'm like, what were you doing, Imogen? What were you doing? But then actually everything led me on my path now. So I don't look back and regret anything, but I can look back now as like a nearly 30-year-old woman and look back and go, I wish I told you to have more self-esteem, to have more respect for yourself. That's what I wish. Because I stayed in my first relationship, it was so toxic. I was toxic. I was extremely, like, I was so young. He was way older than me. He had a child. I couldn't comprehend it. I was a child myself. I couldn't comprehend having to share someone with someone that they will love instantly way more than me. And I couldn't fathom it. So for me, I just stayed in the relationship and I was a secret for so long. And I look back now and I'm like, oh my God, don't ever be a secret to anyone. It ruins your self-esteem. It makes you feel just unworthy. And also, you never really trust that person properly because no one really needs to hide anyone. Like, really, you know, unless there's like, I don't know, like a hitman on your back or something. I don't know. But like, what were we really in secret for? Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was a long time. It was like a year and a half or something of a secret. A long time. And then it's quite abusive because then when you're out of this secret, you're like, oh my God, like, finally, he loves me enough to release me into the world. And I know obviously he had his own things going on, but as a person, as a young girl, I don't wish I'd never put myself through that, but I look back and hope that I can educate my daughter to know that she is worth way more than being kept a secret or feeling as though she's not enough when she's way more than enough. And I changed my whole personality to fit the boyfriends I had. Like, my second relationship was very, very controlling and very toxic. And it took me a while to heal from that because it was such a rebound. And it was way shorter than the first one. But it was serious. We lived together. I'd moved completely away from my family, completely away from my friends. And I just feel like, it's so funny how you look back at relationships and you're like, I was so in love. And then you get out of the relationship and you're like, that can't have been love. Because if that's love, I don't want it. Do you know what I mean? And then now I see Spencer and I feel this love that I've never felt before. I know that this is real love and this is how I was always meant to feel. But I wish that I could tell my younger self, like, you can leave. I never wanted to leave a situation, no matter how bad it got, because I didn't want to have to find someone else or have sex with someone else. Or, like, for me, it was like, no, it was just so... That was why I stayed. I stayed because I didn't want to have to be alone. And I was such a needy person. I know that. I settled in relationships because I would rather have been in a toxic relationship than alone. And I wish I could go back and say that. I really don't know where this video is going. I feel like, is it boring? But I just feel like it's really interesting to talk about stories and talk about how someone's sort of grown and evolved over time. And I know I'm going to keep growing and keep evolving, but yeah, and I think when you're out of situations, you can judge things when you're older way less. You know, like things my parents have done, I judged them so much for it during the divorce. And now I'm like, how can I judge you? I never lived your life. I never lived your path. How can I judge someone for doing something when... But I did. This is me being honest. I have definitely been judgmental. I've definitely made comments about people. I've definitely made bitchy remarks. And I literally pride myself now on not doing that. No chance would I do that. I keep my circle very small. I would never have someone around me that I would ever feel the need to ever bitch about. Ever. I will never be that person that will sit with my friends and start slagging someone off. Ever. I will vent to them about something which maybe upset me if I've had a bicker with Spencer or something. I don't know. Genuinely, I looked at my parents and was like, how could you do that? Like, so judgmental. And I didn't see my mum for a very long time. I was so young. I was like 13 when I first found out about the divorce and stuff, and I was just so emotionally invested in it, way too invested in it. And I lost time with my mum, and obviously I'm so lucky that we've rebuilt that relationship and we're stronger than we ever were before. I honestly think our love that we have now and our relationship we have now is the healthiest it's ever been. Shit, that scared me, that was my phone. The best it's ever been. And I feel like I'm closer to my mum than I've ever been, even before the divorce. Like, we were close before the divorce, we were very close growing up. But I feel like we're way closer now because we've healed, we've talked, we've moved, we've processed everything, and we've also left things in the past. But yeah, I remember being like so angry and so resentful. And I think that then transpired into my sort of early 20s of this moving to London. I was broken up with actually in a really, really traumatic way by my second boyfriend. I had broken up with him literally like 2 weeks beforehand, and he begged me to go to Disneyland because he'd really messed up. He'd done something really awful to me. And I took him back after him like begging and begging and begging. And I took him back and he was like, let's go to Disneyland. So he came down the night before, he'd driven down, and the next day I went to uni for the first like morning lessons, and then I was gonna leave and go to Disneyland early on the Friday, then we were gonna go to Monday, just Paris. And I remember him coming, it was raining, and he like was like, let's go get a Nando's quick, and he didn't have a suitcase in his hands. And like when I left him that morning in bed at my place in London, he was like, oh, do you have to go now? Like, stay in bed with me, I love you so much, I don't want you to go. And I was like, no, I'm gonna miss my first lesson. And he was like, please, I love you so much, please just give me more cuddles, like I'll pay for you to get a taxi to uni, because he hated me getting tubes, but that's a whole nother story about the control. But again, I don't judge him because I don't know what he had in his previous, you know, you can't judge everyone, but at the time it was a really, really toxic relationship. Anyway, I went to Nando's, I'll never forget it, and yeah, he looked like a sheep. He looked like this white, he just gone white, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Paris with my friend. I'm breaking up with you. And I know he just got back with me to take the control back and then fuck me over completely. I got back to my flat and he'd removed every trace of him, all of our photos, our Paris books that we'd bought, anything he'd bought me, he'd removed it all. And I was like, what am I gonna do now? I stayed in that relationship, and I feel like that relationship, him breaking up with me, really screwed me up, because I was like, you begged for me back. I should never have been with you for the length I was in the first place. And it's just so crazy because honestly, everyone around us thought I was living my best life. From Instagram, from just the people that were surrounded by us that we lived with when I lived in Wales. Everyone thought we were the perfect couple. It was so unhealthy. It was so unhealthy. So now when people say to me like, say to me something like about me and Spencer or something, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so honest about me and Spencer. Like, me and Spencer are just, I genuinely feel like he's my soulmate. Obviously we bicker, that's normal, that's healthy, that's positive. You move, you've got passion, you grow together, you compromise, you learn, we absolutely are way stronger after we've had like a bicker and an argument. Facts. But it's not toxic and unhealthy. But I feel like it's so hard to portray that actually on social media, because I know I literally hid a lie on social media. I literally made everyone think I was living my best life with this boyfriend that was not the one. And I just wish I could go back and give myself a little like, go on girl, this is what you're meant to do. I remember I gave up uni, my dream of performing arts, for my first boyfriend. Like, who were you, Imogen? You should be on your own path. Don't ever make a man or ever let a man make you change your dreams. Like, you should always pursue your dreams, and the person who loves you should always be by your side. I think it was just because I was such an insecure person. And then when I was in London, I had never felt more alone ever. I look back now and think I was living with the girls that I lived with, they were my best friends when I had a boyfriend that had lots of money. Oh my goodness, because he'd buy all the stuff for every sleepover. And then when we broke up, is that my phone? My mum. When we broke up, they didn't really care, they didn't really want to know. Suddenly they started turning on me, and I feel like I just attracted these really bad friendships. Like, all my friends now that I've been friends with for years and years and years, over 10 years, 15 years, they all say to me, you have this wild way of attracting such toxic people. And I genuinely believe it's because I always love to fix people and change people. I'm that person that's like, I can help them be nicer, or I can change them. I can give them the love that they need. Stop trying to change people so much, Imogen, and try and work on yourself more, And honestly, the best thing that ever happened to me, bar obviously my husband, meeting Spencer, my parents, my siblings, and my baby, my beautiful, amazing child, was definitely going to hospital, because it made me have to be independent and be on my own. I wasn't getting loads of visitors all the time. My parents couldn't. They had jobs, they had things that they had to do. They had other responsibilities. So I had to find my feet on my own. And that was the first time really I'd ever not lent on someone. It was the first time I'd ever been independent. And honestly, it's a skill that is something which lots of people don't have. And genuinely, when I came out of hospital, it was such a shock to the system. And I was on antidepressants for I think like 3 weeks or something, but they just absolutely set me loopy and I did not like them, so I came straight off them. But I had to kind of readjust to normal life because I've been in hospital for so long, and I just had to be on my own. I had no friends at uni. I had friends, but because I was never going, I think people were just like, she's just going to drag me down, or, you know, kind of vibe. And I get that. I do actually get that. And then the bitchy girls that I lived with, thank God I got out of that flat because that was absolute torture. Absolute torture. But I look now and I think, yeah, hospital did me the world of good. I would go to the cinema on my own. I would go shopping on my own. I would do anything on my own. Look back to when I was like 15. Oh my God, you would have thought I was like, I thought I was like, I don't know, Beyonce. I'd go to the shops, as in like the corner shops from my house, and I'd wear sunglasses and I'd be like to my older brother, if I see people like, I had anxiety, thinking people were going to see me with no makeup on and think I was ugly, honestly. And I look nice without makeup, I've got good skin. What the fudge? What the actual fudge? Genuinely. Or I'd put a hoodie up and be like, people are going to see me. Like, honey, are you okay? No one really gives a shit about you. You're literally just Imogen. You're not Beyonce, do you know what I mean? And also like alcohol, I drank to fit in with others. And I know lots of us do that and that's quite normal, but I hated the taste. And most people do, but I still would hate the taste now. Like the smell of alcohol, literally, no thanks. And lots of people like alcohol. So I haven't drunk properly now for 9 years. In March, that'll be 10 years I haven't drunk properly since I was 20. Although I did have a small glass of wine at my wedding. That's because we spend so much money on the wine. But that didn't even taste like alcohol. That was like just sweet. Like, I don't even know what that wine was. I just wanted to be, like, I remember I would literally not pre-drink. I would just shot. Like, everyone would be like, Imogen, you can do your shots now. Because they'd all be pre-drinking. I hated alcohol that much. I'd literally take this little bottle of water or something and then fill it with vodka and just go, and we'd go out. Because I was such a lightweight. And like, I would drink so excessively, and even though I was a lightweight, and then I'd be like, when I'm on a night out, I just hated it. It would make me tired. It would make me tired and boring. And I'm like, I don't need alcohol. I don't need alcohol. And I still find that I get judgments now about not drinking. But I do want to do like a chat about not drinking, because Spencer doesn't drink now as well. He hasn't drunk for 3 years actually, except a small glass of wine at our wedding. But yeah, I feel like I wish I could go back and be like, hun, you can stop it earlier. Yeah, like I lost friends because I didn't want to do the stuff they were doing. You know, I had really close friends in London. I had really close friends at school that all wanted to do things other than drinking that I didn't want to get involved with. And I just lost friends because of that, because they wanted to do those things. I didn't want to do those things, and they felt as though I was judging them, so they didn't want me around. And lots of my friends in London that I was close with, they would do certain things. And I obviously wasn't doing those things, and I wasn't even drinking. So you can imagine how they're on like a different level, and I'm like here, and I can never match their level, and they become a bit paranoid, and I'd be like, I need to leave. I remember I'd leave hotels and be like, Mum, they're doing this, I need to get away. And I would just leave, and I'd have opportunities to go to the most amazing parties, but I couldn't go to those parties because I just wouldn't enjoy the atmosphere. And I find that hard because I really like loud music and I really like dancing, but it's really hard when you're so sober and some people are just in a completely different world and you're like, I don't know, like I worked in a club for so long. Being sober working in a club was really hard because you just ended up being so like meh with people you did, because I don't know, that's a whole other story. But I feel like I know I've got loads of things that I really want to talk about, but I feel like I've spoken about them for so long, I don't want to bore everyone. But I feel like my main things are like, stop judging, don't get involved with people that don't cling on to friendships that they don't give a shit. Like, stop holding on to these people. I just wish I had more confidence in my own skin to be like, no. But that's something which you grow and learn as you get older. So even if I went back now, I doubt many 15-year-olds really, really have that confidence to be like, okay, fuck you, Mary. I don't need to be your mate anymore because you're an absolute nasty person. we don't really do that because we have to then go to school with them, or, you know, or you don't cut off a boyfriend because you need to learn these things. And I think I look back now and I'm so grateful that I have been these things. I have been this way, and I've gone through the wave, and, you know, I've made mistakes, but I've made amazing things that I've done. And I look now and think, I'm so lucky to be where I am. And I think they've made me the best version of myself. And I know I'm going to keep growing. I don't know what this video's been. It's basically been a story time. I could just sit in front of a camera and talk for about an hour and a half, and even longer than that, about nothing. Like, all the stories I've told you about, I could go on and on about them, but I need to stop because it's going to bore everyone. But basically, a letter to my younger self would say, hello, Imogen. You are amazing. You are worthy of everything you want to achieve in life. You are beautiful inside and out. You will eventually meet the person that you are completely soulmates with, and you will have the most amazing daughter. She's upstairs sleeping and I just want to go and wake her up now. I can't believe it. Like, I don't know. I literally dreamt my whole life. I've always been so maternal. Literally from like the age of 11, I wanted a baby. So I feel so lucky to be her mum. But anyway, and I would say, go through the motions, go through these relationships, because don't worry, they're the frogs, you'll meet your prince. You do so well in life, you achieve everything you ever didn't even dream of, you couldn't even fathom that this would happen to you. You make loads of amazing friends through the internet that support you and love your family like no other, and you're just the best people in the world. And yeah, Imogen, you literally have achieved everything you could ever want and more, and you're a very lucky girl. You're a very lucky girl. You love your family so much, you love your parents so much, you love your siblings so much, you love your everyone around you so much, your friends. You're very, very blessed. And don't worry about pleasing people. Stop worrying about pleasing people. You're never going to please everyone, Imogen. So just continue to be yourself. Stand out, shine. You were born to do that. And yeah, sorry this is so cringy, but life is so beautiful. So just enjoy that ride until you get to where you really want to get to. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You're always going to be Marmite, but I would never change your personality ever. And I'm being serious, I would never change my personality ever. I know that I'm like Marmite. I know that not everyone likes me, but some people really do like me, and I love that, and I'm grateful for that. So yeah, I love you, angels. Sorry if this was such a random video, but I thought it'd be a nice thing for me to look back on. And I love you so much. Goodbye, angels.